for your patience there. I'm very excited to have you on the program tonight. You know, you have brought crowdsourcing or crowdfunding to a whole new level, at least, and you've opened up a whole new venue for otherwise, shall I say, disenfranchised people?
Yeah, you know, when we started GiveSendGo, my brother and I, 7 years ago, we didn't know what the fight we would be in today. You know, we started a crowdfunding site that we thought, you know, we're Christians. We believe as Christians that we should be, as a Christian, we should be the people sharing hope with the world, doing the good things, working together to, you know, do a great thing in the world. And so we started 7 years ago, GiveSendGo, on this adventure just to do that, to provide a platform for people to share hope in the world. And we, about a year and a half ago, all of a sudden, we got thrust into the political spotlight because of a case of a young man named Kyle Rittenhouse, which came on after being deplatformed from a bunch of other sites, really every other site. And we had to make a decision: were we going to allow him to have a platform on our site or not? Mm-hmm. And we allowed him to use GiveSendGo without knowing whether he was going to be found innocent or guilty, just with the whole idea of the presumption of innocence until he's found guilty or not guilty in a court of law.
Well, that's absolutely right. The presumption of innocence is the bedrock of American law and jurisprudence, and it just depends on what side of the political aisle as to whether that applies to you equally. And the instant judgment, I mean, and you know, we could juxtapose that to the latest event there in, I don't know how to pronounce it, Washkashka, whatever, the horrible
Wisconsin, yeah.
Oh, as some put it, a red SUV went rogue. I don't know. I guess the SUV didn't have anything else to do. But all of a sudden, it's wait and see for that. And you got to have all these people that were hurt and killed, including children, through no fault of their own. And it's wait and see. But with Kyle Rittenhouse, is like, you know, he's a white supremacist. Man, the boldness that your company, you decided to do, that put you guys in a target somewhat, didn't it?
Yeah, you know, when we first allowed, you know, we said, okay, me and my brother, we were talking, we're like, okay, do we want to go down this road? Do we want to get into the political realm? Because is that really, you know, we use the name Christian in who we are. And we're like, we don't want to drag God's name through anything, or, you know, because we got it from both sides. So we got the hate from Christians saying, how dare you allow this boy on your platform? He's done this horrible thing. And then we got it from the other side that said, how dare you let this boy on your platform? He's done this horrible thing. And we only were hearing one side of the story. And we knew that. We knew that there's always three sides, they say, to every story. And we didn't want to make the judgment call, knowing just a little bit from 30 seconds of video here and there. We said, no, he should be presumed innocent, at least in the United States, until he's found guilty in a court of law. And he should have the right to be able to hire the best attorney possible. And I think that is even applicable for like really bad people, right? So someone who's really done something bad, give him the best lawyer ever. So when he gets locked up, he can't blame it that he didn't have a good lawyer. You know, like let people fundraise for legal fees so that, you know, rich people aren't the only ones that should be able to have the best lawyer. Mm-hmm.
Now I note that the suspect in the Christmas parade murders, there was an attempted GoFundMe account, and they did block that. And I think they said before any was done. And so I guess, you know, a little bit of fair play there. But the history, if you look at the trending and the history of who they allow and for what reasons, you know, for instance, the policeman, what was it, William Kelly? I mean, man, yep. You know, his information was doxxed, and you know, he was presumed guilty by his own police department. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute,
ridiculous.
So
yeah, ridiculous.
So you know, I appreciate you guys, the boldness there in taking that case on. But man, they seem like social media needs to get out of the business of prejudging situations, because almost every time they get it wrong, and then there's no apologies for it. The damage is already done. Careers are already ruined. People are being hounded and chased. I mean, Kyle Rittenhouse, he doesn't have a life, even though he was found guilty. I mean, to me, now the other case of the three white men that chased down a black man in, they believe Georgia. Look, man, I'm like, that's total guilt. But I'm going to wait for the jury, just like I waited for the Rittenhouse. I felt like they were probably guilty. I didn't know. I can't go out there and say he was guilty. They were guilty. I don't know. I'm not in the jury. I don't have all the facts. That's kind of the way I feel about it. But those two cases showed there's still hope in America, that the jury system is still intact and still the best thing that we have to determine the guilt or innocence of the parties, and everyone else should stay back a little bit and let that system work, but they don't want to. They want political points. And from your standpoint, how do you guys look at it? Do you look at it like every case is a blank slate, or do you have to make certain decisions, and have you turned people down?
So we discussed this a lot, and one of the things we decided a year and a half ago is that we were going to give grace. We're going to give grace to the people who come on and start campaigns that have found themselves in a bad situation, even if it's through fault of their own. We're going to give grace to the people who hate us for allowing this. We're going to give grace to the people who support us, and we're going to give grace to ourselves to not always get it right, because we just know that we're going to do the best we can, but we might not always get it right. And so the way we look at it is that if someone says, I'm going to go and buy materials to build a bomb so I can go bomb the Capitol building, well, we would not allow that. So if you are saying my intent is to cause harm, and so we wouldn't allow that. And that is even with our beliefs as far as when a baby is a baby in the womb. We believe, a baby from conception is a baby. And so if you were saying, I want to go have an abortion, we also consider that causing harm. And so those are the stands we take. So you can't go and intentionally cause harm. Now, the hard part is that you do have people, we have people on our site even now that I wouldn't necessarily agree with or even want on our site. But we have to put our feelings aside, especially if they're raising money for legal fees, because they have the right to do that. And with the outbreak of social media, which, came on the scene a decade or so ago, and all of a sudden, we're all connected. We all have a loud voice. We can all chatter as much as we want to millions of people if we can garner that audience. And so now all of a sudden, all this chatter is going on all the time, and people, we don't have a place to find truth, because we can't trust. We're being told we can't trust the news. We're being told we can't trust social media. We have these fact checkers. We have all these things going on, and so we're raising a generation of people saying, I can't trust anything, so I'm going to just make my own judgment call immediately, and then what I feel is how I'm going to go with it. And then it's hard to change people's minds. So I still have people who say, Kyle brought a gun across state lines. Well, it came out in trial that he didn't, but they still will argue that, or that he shot 3 black guys. I saw a post where someone said he shot 3 black guys, and I'm like, so you're still just spouting information, because we're in the information age where everybody just wants to spout whatever. They hear it once, believe it,
right,
and then they cling to it. And none of us like to be wrong. And so that's why I say I'm going to reserve the right to not have to make a call on this until a jury does it in a court of law. And that's what we're choosing to do. Facebook, even as of the end of last week, and I'm all messed up with Thanksgiving, what's today, Saturday, even as the end of last week, Facebook wouldn't let us share, anybody shared the Kyle Rittenhouse campaign URL. They still had it blocked. After he was found not guilty in a court of law, if somebody went and tried to share that URL on Facebook, they wouldn't allow it. So Facebook shut it down back in August of last year. Facebook shut it down. Discover Card tried to stop people from using their Discover Card to give to a campaign on their site that they felt strongly about. And then it turns out that he's not guilty. And so here's Discover trying to step in and tell people, which is really scary to me, because I hold, a MasterCard and a Visa and things like that. And what happens when they say, oh, we don't like what you believe, or we think differently, you're not going to be able to use your Visa or MasterCard. I don't care how much money you have in there. It doesn't matter. We're going to stop you from being able to fund things. And that's really scary for us. And we saw it, and we went through it. And like I was saying before, we saw it on both sides, from the Christians making petitions for us to take it down to the other side, the left saying he's guilty and he shouldn't have been there. And you know what? I wouldn't want my 17-year-old to have been there, right? Like I agree. He shouldn't have been there. He's a 17-year-old kid, trying to do something, because it seemed like no one was doing anything. And so we are struggling with this, trying to figure out what we should do with this Kyle situation. And what helped us solidify why and who we were going to be in this fight, because we say all the time, we're not red and blue. We don't think that's the final line that's being drawn. Our goal is to share hope with people when they find themselves in a hopeless situation. And a lot of times that's when they come to crowdfunding, because they need funds for medical bills and, a tragedy, a house fire, things like that. And they're finding themselves in a hopeless situation. And we actually have a whole team of people that call every campaign and pray for them and say, listen, I read your mom is going through cancer. Can I just pray with you? I'm your prayer partner, and I've read your campaign. And people are being blown away, even those who don't believe that there's a God, that don't, we've had atheists say, oh my gosh, thank you so, I don't believe there's a God, but that you would call shares hope with me. And that's our whole goal. But just a real quick story. What solidified us with Kyle is that a few months prior to Kyle, there was a man named Jake Gardner. I don't know if you heard of him. It was right after the George Floyd breakout, and the mobs were going crazy down the streets, breaking in. And Jake Gardner had a bar, and he was in this bar, and he was told, like, just, don't cause any scenes. Let these people come and do pretty much whatever they want to do. And he was in his bar, and someone threw a rock through the window. So he pulled the fire alarm and got everybody out, because he wasn't sure was it a gunshot, in the chaos of people storming down the street. He gets out. There's an altercation between one of the men walking down the street and his father, they push his father. So he kind of gets in it to stop it. And they jump him. And he says, I'm carrying a gun. And they don't care. And they pull him to the ground. And one of the guys is on his back choking him. And he grabs the gun and he shoots him. And he gets arrested. Cops are called. He gets arrested. He goes, they look at the police, look at the video, because of course everybody's recording it. They see the video. They say, okay, now this is obvious self-defense. But because of the unrest at the time, because of all this unrest, they say we need to do something. So we're going to convene a grand jury to look at this even closer. We can't just let it off, or we will even have more riots on our hands. Mm-hmm. And so Jake Gardner goes into he was a two-time veteran and honorably discharged, and he goes into hiding because he has no support. He feels like everybody's against him. He tries to start a GoFundMe. He tries to do Facebook. He gets deplatformed. He's all alone. He's hopeless. 3 months go by. His news is no longer the news. He's just waiting to see what's going to happen to him. And Kyle comes on the scene. And now Kyle's the big news, because news stories happen so quick. Mm-hmm. Well, Kyle comes on the scene, and Jake Gardner sees that Kyle has allowed this crowdfunding site on GiveSendGo. And so he goes and he starts a campaign on GiveSendGo. And he says, please, guys, I'm hiding and I'm waiting to hear. If anybody wants to reach out to me, here's my phone number. Like a desperate man wanting connection, because he feels so alone, because he's been stripped of every sort of social outlet that he has. Mm-hmm. And while this is happening, about 2 days in, the grand jury comes back and says, we're going to take this to trial. And he commits suicide. Mm. And I cried that day. I didn't know him. There's a lot of sad situations that happen on GiveSendGo. But when I found out that he had committed suicide, Jacob and my brother, we looked at each other and said, the blood of this man is on GoFundMe and Facebook, and all these people that didn't let this man have a voice. They deplatformed him. They didn't let him have a voice, and he felt so alone. Kyle said all the notes of encouragement, the prayer requests, the donations, all of it told him there were people behind him and let him keep going. And Jake Gardner wasn't afforded the same thing. And that's why GiveSendGo stands. And sorry, it was a long story, but that's why GiveSendGo stands for what we do today.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And I would imagine, man, you would see a lot of sad situations and what may look like hopeless situations. It seems like you and your brother certainly would need to always sort of remain in a prayerful situation, certainly keep the Bible handy there for some comforting words or something there to gird yourself to handle that. But to your point earlier, I read it was from the Independent in the UK. They said Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 black men. I'm thinking, man, how is any? And then it was a few days later they made a correction. This is after the verdict. And they put it on, I don't know, page 6 or 10, somewhere way in the back. But the damage is already done. And this is the thing. They have, and like this Jake person you're talking about, they damage people and walk away like it's some kind of blood sport. So anyway, let me welcome additional viewers. Teflon Coat, Live Station Express, and Raul Sanchez, all welcome to the Edge program. Well, Heather, we have questions coming in. Let's go ahead and get this from Missouri out of the live chat on our website. We have 2 live chats. We're streaming on YouTube. There's a chat there, and then we're streaming off our website, and there's a chat there. Both of them is fine. So, all right. So, have you ever looked into the origin of the names of major credit cards? I think there might be a little conspiracy tone here. The name Visa.
Yeah. I haven't personally. I haven't. We know that in order to continue doing what GiveSendGo does, we need to figure out ways that we won't be deplatformed if something comes along where all the big names tell us we can't. So I don't necessarily know all the backgrounds of MasterCard, Visa, Discover, all of those, but we are getting ready to add some cryptocurrency on wallets on GiveSendGo, so people will be able to do that. And we're constantly looking for more ways to not be dependent on the normal rails that are out there, because we saw when Discover decided they were going to try to, this leaked memo came out. It was very clear that we can't be reliant on just this. And so we're looking into different ways. We're taking steps to continue to expand, and just be the best card. We used to call ourselves the alternative, and now we say we're the replacement. Where people are finding out about us, and we're looking to replace some of those other crowdfunding sites that are out there that are really into the censorship game, even though like what you said, this recent Wisconsin tragedy, that they took that campaign down. You see lots and lots where they don't take campaigns down from one side. Right. And then we see so many campaigns that come on our site that say, I was taken down off of GoFundMe. And so we are going to stand for freedom. And again, we're not, hey, we want just the right side or the left side. We want every side, because our whole goal is to share the hope we have of Jesus through crowdfunding. And so that's really our whole goal. So sorry I couldn't answer the question better. Okay. By the way, on our website, we have 2 polls, and both of them really are connected to your organization. The first poll is, what's the best form of currency? I didn't tell the folks that I got that from your website. What your website says is the best form of currency. If they want to look it up, they need to go there. But I did put down what's the best form of currency. There are choices on the poll question: gold, silver, God's love, dollar bills, crypto, or barter goods. Let's take a look. And right now, barter goods is at 38.46. God's love's at 30, and gold's at 15, silver at 15 too. So hopefully at the end of this broadcast, Heather, we can move God's love up a little bit in that. And then we've got a flash poll question. If somebody in the audience needed crowdsourced, okay, they could go. The options are GoFundMe, GiveSendGo, Patreon, or CrowdRise. And let's take a look at that. And it looks like we got 66% on GoFundMe and 33% on GiveSendGo. Heather, I'm pretty sure by the time we get done with this interview here that we're going to raise that percentage up for you. All right, let's get to the question here. This is from Smoke Seed in regards to a campaign, and I'm going to go ahead and bring one up for a background. This is Kyle's, and I'm going to step out. I'm going to take you out of the picture. I'm going to take me out of the picture so they can see exactly what this is. All right, so we have Kyle Rittenhouse right from your website there, and the goal, and that was $500,000 for his defense. And look at that, 125% of that goal reached, $629K. An amazing feat to help this young man out. And anybody seen the Tucker Carlson interview would know this guy's no killer. He's no white supremacist. He's just a good kid. We need more of those. So, but the question is, says Heather, what percentage of funds raised actually goes towards the cause? Sure, good question. So a lot of crowdfunding sites, how it used to be is that the crowdfunding platform would take a percent for operating costs, and then there's always a processing fee, like a 2.9 plus 30 cents is the typical like online payment processing fee. And so when we started, we said, oh, let's come in a little bit lower than what GoFundMe was charging, which was about 5% at the time, plus their processing fees. So we came in a little lower, did that for like a month or two, and then really felt like God was telling us that if we wanted to trust him, like we're telling people to trust God with what they're raising funds for, that if we really believe this is a God thing, this platform we were starting, that we were going to trust him. So we removed the fees or our platform. And we said, we're going to be a free platform. So you don't have to give us anything to use our site. There are processing fees from our third-party processor, which is 2.9 plus 30 cents. So everything but 2.9 plus 30 cents goes directly to the campaign owner. The way we make money, because people always ask, so I'll just tag this right into this question, is that when you go, if you click that big red Give Now button, it will say, how much do you want to give? And you say, okay, I'm going to give $100. And then it'll say, do you want to add an optional donation to GiveSendGo to help keep us free? And then someone can add an optional donation there. And that's how we don't charge. We understand the people raising the money need the money. And so we allow the givers to be able to give to us if they have the money.
Yeah. What I'm looking at here is showing a Pray Now button at 482,000 people, and then it looks like maybe 14,000 have given. But that number there at $629,000, it's no lame Christian copycat, almost kind of woulda shoulda. Crowdsource thing. You guys are the real thing, and you are making a huge impact, and you're throwing up some real numbers. And just because people want to be able to trust somebody out there. Now we have another one. Let's bring this up. We mentioned the lieutenant that was fired. Now this campaign is closed. That goal was 100,000, and looks like 255,000 was raised. 255% was raised for this man here, and I know he wants to get his job back too as well, and I don't know what's going to happen to that, but those are some real numbers, Heather, and that is substantial numbers in both cases. So if somebody does need a crowdsource, I think they can feel pretty safe that you guys are legit in that way there. And I also had up earlier, I don't know if people noticed that, you have something else I've never seen, a sort of a prayer wall. What is that prayer wall?
Sure. So we believe so much that prayer is the currency that is the most needed, that, God's love, that because the Bible says that God bends his ear to listen to us. And I think of it like a mom or a dad bending their ear down to their kid to listen to what them whisper in their ear, and how sweet and special that is, and how important it makes that child feel. And that's what it says God does to our prayers. He bends his ear to listen to us. And so we said, let's add a wall where people can come on. They don't have to have a campaign. They don't have to, and they can just add a prayer. And then there are people that pray through this. We have prayer groups and prayer warriors that say, hey, I just come to GiveSendGo, and I just pray for people, or praise God for what he's doing. And again, and I mentioned this quickly, but it's one of the best parts of our site, and one that you will not find on another crowdfunding platform, is we actually have a team of people that we hire to call each campaign and pray for them. Wow. And so you start a campaign, and you will get a call from someone that says, hi, my name's so-and-so from GiveSendGo, and I've been assigned to be your prayer partner. Can I pray with you right now over the phone? Like right then. And I'm telling you, it is the best part. The stories we get of people being touched, or the call coming in at the exact right minute, things like that. It's just, that's what makes me tear up. I'm happy to see that Candace Owens used our site and that she raised $255,000. That's great. I'm glad that Kyle Rittenhouse found a place that he could have a voice. I'm glad that William Kelly was able to raise money. All of these things, I'm happy that people raising money for adoption. I love these things. But the most important thing, I love that we're able to really reach out into people's situations, because we understand that money, it provides for our physical needs, but we all have something a little bit deeper that is an internal need. And that only can be filled by God. And so we say, we're going to come into your situation, whatever little bit we can, and we're going to tell you about the hope that we found in a relationship with Jesus, because that's bigger than any right or left. You want to change the hearts and minds of people. You don't try to persuade them on political things. You try to persuade them how much God loves them. And when people come to a realization of how much God loves them, their hearts and minds will be changed, and then our political culture will be changed.
Wow. So that sounds like a multifaceted mission. In fact, maybe I can call this a mission rather than sort of an organization. To your point earlier about just trusting God on it, I came to the conclusion, when I go watch a YouTube video, I don't like to see commercials. And some of them are so bad, it's like you get 1 minute of content and 2 minutes of commercials and back and forth, 3, 4. And I said, we had the YouTube funding thing too. So, and I thought, I don't want people to go through that. If this content is worth looking at, somebody's just going to go on the website and hit the PayPal button. And so and if they don't, then whatever the costs are associated with this show, I'm going to pay them, because one, this is an outreach. Two, as well, we have a mission here, and it's to get the truth out from every segment and quarter of the stratosphere here. So if you look at our website, you can't say, well, you're this or that. You only talk about this, you only talk about that. We try to hit all the topics and then gather little nuggets of truth from each one, no matter how crazy they may be. And some of the best nuggets that we get are from the craziest guests that we've ever had. So that's what we have. We just left it in God's hands. If somebody hits the PayPal button, more power to them. And if I could never afford for the cost of this thing, then we wouldn't even be, we'd just move along. All right. So here's another question. It says, Heather, will the digital dollar be the currency of the mark of the beast?
I am not sure. Obviously, I don't think any of us know that. As I look, my own personal, so this is just personal, thoughts on this. I see that we're headed to a place where it'd be very easy for the things we read about in Revelation to actually happen, where there is some sort of mark that you need to buy and sell. I can see it. I can see that, where they can shut off your payment sources. I've seen it. It's happened on our website, where, a loaf of bread will cost so much money. Like, I can see us heading to a place where the world becomes one kind of government, where we all want to just get along and let's just make this one world government with one world currency and then start tracking people. And if we already have, sites, and I'm going to forget the name, but the site that tells who the terror, the bad organizations are, not terrorists, but, hateful organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a lot of Christian organizations on there.
Southern Law Poverty Center?
Yes, that's exactly it. I knew. I'm like, it's 8:30 at night. My brain has stopped working.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's easy. Get on their hate list if you don't go with the social norms of what they're trying to put out there. But getting back to when you guys decided to start this, did you ever feel like you would be right in the middle of a culture war? And when you're thinking, we're going, hey, let's create a platform, help some people out. There's a lot of people get shadow banned here. But did you think they may come after us? Or was you a little bit naive on that? Or did you think, when we start this thing, there could be some bad weather ahead?
No clue. There was not even like an inkling in my mind that this is, I actually, when I go and speak at different places, I kind of feel like David, right? David and Goliath. So here's David. He's a young boy, preteen, and his mom sends him to do this great thing, to go bring his brother some food, right? Here, your brother's on the battlefield. Go bring him food. I feel like when we started this, I was David. Me and my brother were David. We're doing the good thing, obeying our mom. We're going off. We're going to have this great platform where people can come. Just an alternative to GoFundMe. Not really that there needed to be one, but just because, let's have a Christian version of it. And we're doing this great thing, and we're growing year after year, and people are finding out about us in churches and mission trips and adoptions and medical bills. And it's great. And we're just walking along, bringing our brothers food. And then we arrive on a battlefield. And that's what I felt like a year and a half ago, that all of a sudden we arrived after walking out in obedience for 6 years. We arrived on a battlefield, And we looked around and there were people mocking our God. And we said, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, we're not going to stand for this. And so we're going to stand up. And we trusted that just the same God that took a little stone and was able to kill a giant would be the same God that takes a little platform, some code, some developers, and is able to provide a place of freedom. Because that's what David, when he killed Goliath, he gave the people freedom from this terror. And we had no idea. Just like I don't think David knew when he headed to the battlefield that he was going to get involved. But I think that what we're seeing is that more and more people are being forced to get involved. And it's actually a good thing because we've been so complacent for so long that we just, we Amazons and the Facebooks and the Twitters and all of it is just convenient and easy. And now that censorship is starting to happen and things like that, we're going to have to start getting involved. And so we're seeing platforms like GiveSendGo and others pop up to fill a need that's an important need for the future.
Yeah, so it seems like it takes maybe a little bit of adversity for Christians to get going in the direction they should have been a long time ago. And really, if you look at the Old Testament, it would seem like it was always like that with the Jews. The Jewish people, or the Israelites, they would worship God, and then prosperity would come, and then some enemy would come take them over. But when the prosperity came, it's like they went away from God, and then enemy would come, and there would be battles and stuff, and they'd have to cry out to God, and then God would come in miraculously with their actions, give them actions to do, or sometimes not, but mainly, and then they would go back to prosperity. And so American Christians, by and large, have been in this kind of funk, I guess you would say, because America has provided so many riches for most people that, and sometimes I think there's maybe a psalm that says, don't let me be so rich that I forget my God, but hopefully we won't need to get to that point. But I can say, for instance, to your point, that say during the pandemic, a lot of parents were at home and they were able for the first time to see the curriculum that was going through their kids' minds. And they were shocked beyond belief, thinking, because we all want to believe, surely the National School Board has the best interests of our little children, and they're teaching them well, and they're doing this and doing that. That's not what they're doing at all. They're brainwashing them and trying to turn them into little monsters, and the parents caught on to it, and a big explosion happened out there in Virginia. We wouldn't know what was going on with that stuff unless they slipped up and forced everybody to go home. And now I bet you that they don't want any more remote learning for little kids, because that information, they want to keep doing what they're doing, and they can't do it with parents looking at them because they saw what happened. So sometimes, and that was so you think, well, that was the worst thing ever. The pandemic forced us to stay at home. Well, look what happened. So there's good stuff like that does come out of it.
Yeah, and we actually had that campaign on GiveSendGo, the parents raising funds for, against critical race theory, to kind of expose it and to, form some lawsuits and things like that to say, listen, we're not going to just stand by while you brainwash our kids. We need to, but see, we say that, but then on the other hand, so many parents are like, please just do everything for my kids, feed them breakfast, lunch, teach them, discipline them, do everything. And so we're making ourselves dependent on the school system. A lot of people, dependent on the school system. And then what happens is that we'll allow them to do anything because it's too hard to have them home. We have to work. We have to have 2 jobs, so we can't pay our bills. And we've worked ourselves into this place of going, hey, if I can just send my kids off, it's like, I don't have to deal with them. But that's not why God created the family, so that we don't have to deal with our kids. It's the most important job we have is raising our kids and teaching them and pouring into them the things that will make them assets to society as they continue to grow up.
Yeah, and to continue that point just a little bit further, the parents, like yourselves, stepped onto the battlefield. And I don't know that they knew how vicious that battlefield was going to be. They thought, well, let's just go down to the school board meeting and express our opinion. Next thing you know, they're finding out that the school boards have been doxing people and keeping records of people and various things, and actually having members of the school board spying on parents. Then they go so far as to get the administration to label parents as terrorists. They stepped on the battlefield. So there's a whole segment, and but so many good things have come out of that. So many school boards have flipped now to reasonable type of things. So in your area of genre, and is it crowdsourcing or crowdfunding? Is that the same thing?
It's pretty much the same. Same word, just different. I'll say crowdfunding more than crowdsourcing, but they're both the same thing. Using a crowd to fund or source your.
So you guys are like the tip of the spear in that sphere, and the parents are the tip of the spear in that sphere. I guess you would say people that lost their jobs when they're working on a pipeline, they need to get together. I mean, and the policemen that are expected to get a certain thing in their arm. We can all. There, almost all of us, and maybe where we're at, each person needs. And you started to say that it's time to make a decision that more of us need to get out on that battlefield because we've been watching others fight that for so long. And somebody said, "Well, I don't have a crowdfunding site, and I don't have a Edge television broadcast, or I don't have kids for school board." But that means that's not your area. Your area is where you're at. God put you where you're at, and there's something there. There's something there that that the people need to be attended to, that they have been raised up for.
And I 100% agree with that. And I think that we can cut ourselves short in thinking about looking at what everybody else is doing. And in doing that, becoming distracted and not asking God, what do you have for me? Because each one of us have neighbors that live around us. Each one of us have governments in our own communities. Each one of us have people in our communities that need to hear about Jesus. And again, all of the stepping up and stepping out and standing up are great things. And God will call us to do those things. But I feel very, very strongly that I do not want people to be distracted about just being in the political realm, that they forget that the harvest is plentiful and that God has people right in their own sphere, the people that are waiting in the grocery line with them, the people that they go to school, their kids go to school with, the people that are in their neighborhood, and we get so distracted. And I think it's from the enemy that he's like, oh, this is great. I can get everybody upset about a wall, that they forget to look at the people in their own community. And not to say that there aren't reasons and thoughts and processes and things that we should be looking at as a government and as people in protecting our country and things like that. I'm not saying that at all, but I don't let it become a distraction from what God has called you to do. Mm-hmm. Now, God's called me to do GiveSendGo, but I can tell you that I can also get so distracted in doing GiveSendGo that I can miss the opportunities with the person that's sitting next to me on an airplane, that God is saying, hey, I sat them there so you can share that hope you are always talking about. I sat them right next to you. And I get so distracted doing my good thing that I don't notice. And so what I always want to tell people is like, be looking for who God puts in your sphere, because that will be bigger than any crowdfunding site, any social media platform, anything. If you're doing exactly what God planted you to do where you are, then you will bloom and you will see miraculous, because God is a supernatural God. He's not of this world. He's supernatural. And when we start walking in and we see things like a crowdfunding site that had no chance of ever being with the big guys, now taking day after day, exploding into the enemy's territory and taking ground. And our numbers are exploding. It's incredible. You look at our analytics, you look at our processing volume, and people are starting to say, we want another alternative, and we're so thankful GiveSendGo is there. And so, yes, we see lots of people stepping over the line and saying, we're going to go to the place that funds hope, just like what you put on your background, because that really is what we're about.
All right. We have I was about ready to start shouting there, Heather.
Sorry.
That's okay. You go, girl. All right. Put Yahweh First says, I need $2,000 to get my 1965 Ford Galaxy station wagon painted. Will your site work for me?
Sure. Now, it is fundraising, and that's kind of like the misconception, is that people think, oh, I'll just put this like, I need my car painted, or I need to pay my bills, or I need whatever, and I'm going to put it on the site. And then people are just like strangers. They're just going to come up to me and give me money. And unfortunately, if you stopped for a minute and thought about that, you would know that's not the logical way to think, because there aren't people that just are out to give you money to paint your car. Because I would like to get my car painted too, or at least, so that we all have our things that we want to get done. Now, excuse me, fundraising, what is crowdsourcing or crowdfunding is, it's just fundraising. It's work. You need to share with people who want to do what you're doing. You might have friends and family that say, you know what, this guy has given his whole life, and now all he wants is his car painted. Let's all get in, and let's just get him that $2,000. And this will be so fun to be able to bless this man and get his car painted, right? And so, yes, that would 100% work. But if you think you're going to just go and set up a crowdfunding campaign for your car, never share it, never tell anybody about it, and people are just going to find it and want to give, most likely not.
I'm very proud of the website that we have. I made that, and for a long time I developed websites, and I see these starry-eyed people contact me and they say, Daniel, man, can you make me a website? And yeah, I'll make you a website. And they say, great, because I got all these things I want to sell, all these things I want to do, and I said, whoa. After the website's just the first thing, man. You turn on a website back in the days when nobody had one. They believed that as soon as you turned it on, that money was going to be flying in your inbox, and it's not like that. It's exactly like you said. You have to go out there. Okay, I got a website now. I got to go tell everyone I know. I got to pass out all these flyers. You got basically have to do almost the same kind of marketing that you're trying to avoid by the lazy way of just having a website. You have to get out there, and so I really deterred them. I said, look, it's not that way. It takes years. Now you might have something where there's the possibility of something going viral. You never know. Like videos, you never know what stupid cat video is going to have 40 billion views because the cat did something that no other cat did. Somebody thought of it, or maybe by accident. You don't know. And so, everybody's out there making cat videos saying, I'm going to get all these views, and 332, 15, 9. And so, it's just not like that. So it is like you said.
Yeah, one of the things we are trying to do that is a little bit different is we started something called the Army of Givers. And if you go up on the homepage and go up to like the Discover tab on the left and then go down, you'll see something that says Army of Givers. And what the Army of Givers is we're actually inviting people to sign up for the Army of Givers. And when you sign up, it just asks you to pledge to give a certain amount every month for a year. So you can say $5, $10, $25, $100, whatever you feel comfortable with. And you say, I will give this every month to any campaign. We don't tell you which ones. It can be different every month. It can be the same every month. And you give that amount. You get an email every month saying, hey, it's time to give again. Hey, Army, come on, it's time to step up. And people go on and they find a campaign that month, and they give their money to that campaign, and they scroll through and they find the one that they feel like they want to give their $10 to or $20 to. And what they do is once they sign up, we send them a little gift package from GiveSendGo. It has a bunch of like swag and different things in it, just as a thank you for being a giver. And because we do want it to be a site where somebody could just have not a huge network, but maybe one month they see our Army of Givers come in and just bless them. And so we are trying to build up our Army of Givers just to have this core group of people who say, no, I'll sacrifice a little every month to give to a campaign on GiveSendGo.
I'm going to have to go a little controversial here because did you see the beginning of our show?
I did not.
Okay. Well, this show actually, this show actually, I don't know if I explained it to you, but this show actually starts at 8. Intro, blah, blah, blah. We have a bear report who gives us a bear who calls into the show, and he gives us the good news for the week. So nothing but good that's happening, and it's the best part of the show as far as I'm concerned. Just of good people doing good things. And then I do something called the Ranting Points. Well, in that Ranting Points, one of the topics, that's where I just go off. Okay, one of them was about Salvation Army, and because you mentioned Army of Givers, and recently the Salvation Army made a 67-page booklet saying let's talk racism, and in it is CRT on steroids, and they want white people to repent and churches to repent. And I'm thinking, man, churches have been helping people out since they were been helping people out and outreach. And you know, I mean, I've been in churches, and we go to the inner city, you know, where it's predominantly African American. We bring stuff in, and then to have this organization go around and just assume if you're white, you're racist. Say, man, why didn't you guys just stay with helping people? You had to go woke. So now I have to think about, if I throw something in the that kettle's army, maybe I need to go to GiveSendGo and check out that army, because I'm pretty sure you guys aren't woke.
Yeah, you know, we say we don't want to be woke, we want to be awake, because the Bible says, wake up, sleeper, and be in the light. Mm-hmm. You know, and so we say we're not woke, we're awake.
All right.
Because that's what we want to be. We want to be awake.
All right, and I think everybody needs to be awake as far as that goes. All right, let's get to another question for it. It says, Heather, we are going to get a social media site for people. Oh, are we ever going to get a social media site for people like us as strong as Facebook? The alternatives don't seem to be catching. And as I showed the numbers for the crowdfunding earlier for at least 2 cases, I guess we could have went a whole bunch more on your site. You guys are not only equal to, but in my case, I personally believe better than the secular type things. But so anyway, to his question, is there, you know, there's Gabber, there's Gitter, there's Hoodoo and all whatnot. And I mean, is there going to be a social media site? I mean, Donald Trump has one. Mike Lindell has one. I mean, everybody, it seems like they're just taking little pockets. It seems like there needs to be an overarching that gathers everybody together.
And that's the hard part right now for us, you know, because, you know, we talk to a lot of people. We're getting some influence with who we are now that, you know, we're becoming the site that we're becoming and the stance we're taking for freedom and hope. And so we talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people are starting these social media platforms, and they all want us to join it, right? Like, we have this new social media platform, and we have this new social media platform, and we go and check it out. We might have our marketing team create a profile on it. And I agree with the question. Like, it is hard to find something. We're so comfortable with Facebook. It has all, like, 10 years of 10 plus years of our memories and our videos. It tells us every day, look at this picture of your kid when they were like 2, and you're like, oh, they're a teenager now, you know, and you have it all like wrapped up in you and all your friends and all of that. And so they kind of have their hooks in you. Mm-hmm. And so to find somebody else, so I tried for a little bit personally. I was like, okay, I need to get off Facebook. You know, they hate GiveSendGo. They've censored us. So let me try MeWe, right? So I would write on Facebook every day and go, hey, if you want to see what happened today at the farm, go over to MeWe. And so people were having to go to MeWe to see what was going on, because I wasn't posting on Facebook except to tell them that I posted on MeWe. But again, unless you get that mass exodus of everybody at once, it's hard. It's really hard. Now, GiveSendGo has a really good following and social circle on Gab, which is a free speech platform. So there's some great people on Gab. Those are our people. We say a lot of them are 100% behind who GiveSendGo is and what we do. But you also have on Gab, because it's a free speech platform, you have some idiots and you have some just people that are horrible, right? Like, they say horrible things and just because they can. And that's a free speech, right? Like, hey, I'm going to say this just because I can. But overall, we found a spot on Gab that I feel is more developed than any of the other platforms we've checked out. Now, I keep hearing we haven't checked out Donald Trump yet. We've tried a bunch of different other ones, and we're just going to kind of watch and see. You know, we've talked even about GiveSendGo, how to make it more of a social platform. You know, instead of just coming on and funding, how can we make it more social? We've added a mailbox so people can mail each other internally through the system and things like that. So we're looking at it too, but there's a lot of them out there. It just is going to take everybody coming together, and that's hard in anything. You know, you have 8 soup kitchens in your community, and they all want to do it their own way, and so they don't work together, which they could, you know, and we see that since the beginning of time. It's the problem.
Yeah. I remember I knocked on the door one time to give groceries to a person, and they go, "Are you with the Church of Christ?" I go, "No, I'm not. I'm just with a non-denominational." I slammed the door. It's like, dang, man, I'm trying to do something good here. Why you got to slam the door in my face? But to Facebook, so, you know, I had a pretty large presence there, and I just got tired of getting those overlays, sensitive content, and fact check, and this check, and that check, and I got tired of them. Can I say SOBs? But so, you know, I don't know how many thousand, 5,000, whatever. So, you know, I kind of give the announcement, hey, I'll go over here to the Gab. Nobody went over there. But then I deleted my account, and I thought, let's see what happens. I got 5,000 friends. My email still works. Everybody knows I have this show. Been doing it since 2004, every Saturday night. And nobody in that 5,000 is like, man, I was told these was my friends. Because it's friends list, friends places, friend this, unfriend that, friend you, friend me, friend the bumblebees. They wasn't my friends. I was just a thing floating through somewhere, and so I kind of learned my lesson on that. So I'm not, and I deleted my Twitter account. And my brother now he deleted. He had 20,000 people following him on Twitter. He deleted it for this principles of being shadow banned, this and that and the other. And now he's got, on a new platform, maybe Getter, I think, whatever that replacement is. He's up to 9,000. You know, so he's getting his dopamine shots from there. You know, they're you got that little,
what we all need.
That little hit, that little hit. Man, I put some great stuff up myself, and you know, when you don't get that thumbs up, it hurts. It hurts.
I know
bad.
they've made us addicted to this fake alternate universe. You know, it really is. Like, we thrive off something that's not even real. Nobody's picture looks actually what they look like. You know, like, so my kids grow up feeling like they have to take 30 different shots at like just the perfect angle with the perfect lighting and the perfect filter so that they look all right. And it's like so unrealistic of what life is. But we're growing up, our kids are growing up feeling, you know, in this unrealistic thing that they have to fit in with. And then you have all, like you said, these fact checkers. And I read a funny thing one time, and it stuck with me because it said, if we have all these fact checkers that know all the facts, why don't we just put them on TV and call them the news? And I was like, true, if they know all the facts, then we could just call them the news. But, you know, it's funny.
Now, I do got to question people to put their kids' pictures on any kind of social media. I mean, man, are they aware this is 2021? Are they aware what that entails, what's happening out there? I mean, you wouldn't do it if they wouldn't do it. They may have not been touched yet, but you could have some of the weirdest freaks looking at stuff and doing who knows what.
I know. We live in a sick world.
All right, just joining us is Max Vogan, Robert Timothy, Strikefire7, Gary Kigwell, and Minnie Mouth all joined us in a live chat. What does the future hold for GiveSendGo?
You know, we are like I've said a couple times, we are growing. So we're hiring as fast as we can hire. Right. We're expanding. We're in 40 countries around the world. We are we're weeks away from a whole new site design being rolled out, which is exciting, and that will entail the crypto on it. We're looking at different options for wallets and processing. We're looking at a nonprofit arm of GiveSendGo for disaster relief. So, you know, if a disaster gets started or something happens tragic, our nonprofit arm could step in and create a campaign and then be the hands and feet on the ground to go out to that location and give out the money raised. So we have a lot of things on the burners, and we're just trying to, you know, juggle a lot of balls, trying to keep this going with the momentum that we have without losing our focus. That it's all about sharing the hope that we have with Jesus.
Wait. You're hiring, and now are you hiring remote workers?
All remote. Everybody works remotely.
I'm asking for a friend who's very close to me.
Yeah, very customer service people that work from home. We have customer service. We have prayer partners. We have site testers. Wow. We usually start people in the customer service so they can learn our site, and then we find out where their skill set is, and then kind of find positions for people. But it's an exciting place to be. If anybody that's listening is interested, they can send a resume to jobs@GiveSendGo.com and jobs@GiveSendGo.com. And yes, we're always looking at people that can get behind who we are and what our mission is, which is to share the hope of Jesus through crowdfunding.
Wow. Man, that is quite a mission. I really like that. All right, let's get to this question here. This person here is a little bit testy here, saying, is it like a savings and loan? Is that what you guys do? I don't, it might not, maybe we haven't explained what you do quite clearly. I'm not sure.
Let me explain a little bit about what crowdfunding is. So it's not really like a savings and loan at all. So what crowdfunding is someone says, I have a need, or I know somebody with a need, and I need to fundraise for them. Mm-hmm. And so they come on to GiveSendGo, they click start a campaign. It will walk them through a process of signing up and then creating their campaign. How much money do you want to raise? $1,000. Okay. What do you want to raise it for? My sister's medical bills. Okay. Pick a category. I'll put it under medical. Then tell us the story. Well, my sister was diagnosed with this, and, tell the story. Then add an image. Then connect to our processor, and then you're enabled. Once you're enabled, you start sharing your campaign with your friends, your family, your social circles. And you say, listen, my sister has these medical bills, and I just want to help her out. And then people come on and they go, oh, my goodness, I didn't know your sister was struggling with that. I'll give you $10. Or I'll give you $20, or I'll give you $100, or $500, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it's really just an easy place for online fundraising. Rather than having to do a spaghetti dinner for your sister and buy the spaghetti and set up the tablecloths and all of that, here's a way to say, here's a place that you can come to and give to things that are important to you. And there's a lot of campaigns on GiveSendGo that you might look through and go, wow, I will give to that. Mm-hmm. I would love to support somebody who's doing this. Mm-hmm. And then also we say, keep your eyes out. There are people in need all around you. Step out. If you see a need, start a campaign. Help somebody out. It's what we should be doing.
Wow. Absolutely. And I like the anonymous function of it, because sometimes the best giving is just do it, because if you give with the hope of getting something back, then the Bible says you're not necessarily doing it exactly from the heart. So you can't do the anonymous if you want. Freely Speaking says, do you have an Australian office?
We don't have an office in Australia, but we do allow crowdfunding in Australia. It's actually with the mandates and everything going on in Australia right now, which are pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. Canada, and in Canada, we're saying that Canada, so U.S. is obviously our biggest base, who we've marketed to the most. And like I said, we're in 40 countries where people in 40 different countries can make a campaign on GiveSendGo. But Canada and Australia are actually our two runners up to the United States as far as traffic coming from those locations.
Wow. I see Robert Timothy in the live chat said it seems like it's just an electronic way to donate to a charity campaign. Is that?
It is, but it doesn't have to necessarily be like a 501c3 or a nonprofit organization. Individuals can also raise funds. And so it does, you don't have to be a nonprofit or charity, like a registered charity. You can just say, I want to buy groceries for my neighbor, and you can raise $500 and to buy groceries for your neighbor.
Hey, I wanted to ask you while I had you on the line here. This graphic here, what's the kite? symbolize?
You know, when we first started, we're actually in the process of rebranding our site and our logo. When we first started, we just thought, you know, with the go, you give, send, and go. The kite is when you think of a kite, it's flying and it's being sent.
Okay.
And we love that it has a cross in it. You know, every kite has a little cross in it. And we said, you know, let's be sent. So there's not much more than just saying, you know, we've kind of changed our who we are into GiveSendGo, and then our tagline, instead of #1 free Christian crowdfunding site, which is what we have been for years, because we needed people to know who we are when we were branding ourselves. Now we say GiveSendGo, shine brightly, because that is our tagline for everything. Every email you get from us, everything will end with shine brightly, because that is our encouragement to everybody. If we all shine brightly in the world, it could be a pretty bright place. Because
what if somebody put their light under a bushel?
Have you heard the song "Hide It Under a Bushel"? No, I'm gonna let it shine.
Okay.
The song I sang as a kid in Sunday school. You don't hide it under a bushel. You're gonna let it shine. And the cool thing is that, you know, my brother and I were at this music festival, and we were sponsors of the music festival, and we were getting on because we were going to be able to speak, and we were on a mountaintop, right? And there's all these big artists, Matthew West and Third Day, like just a lot of big names, and everybody's there having so much fun and worshiping, and it's just a fun time. And we're getting ready to go out to speak, and we're like, what should we talk about? You know, what should we talk about? We have this chance to talk to these thousands of people. And we were handing out bracelets that glowed in the dark that said shine brightly, because that was our tagline. And we started talking about what that means to shine brightly. And we said, you know, actually, there's 2 places in the Bible where someone shine brightly. And one was Moses, when he went up to the mountaintop and got the 10 Commandments. When he came down, it said his face was radiant, that people couldn't look on his face because he was shining brightly. And we're like, wow, that's really cool. On a mountaintop experience, we've all been there. You're at church or you're at a conference, and you feel so close to God, and you're shining, like you just feel him in you. But then there's another place in the Bible where shining brightly also happened. And this is Stephen. He was in the New Testament, and he was getting stoned to death for his faith. And he just shared about who Jesus was, and how Jesus came, and he told the whole story of the Jewish people up until Jesus. And then Paul held his coat Saul, and they threw stones at him until he died. And it said that his face became radiant, like that of an angel. And so he started to shine brightly, and he shined brightly, not on a mountaintop experience like Moses. His was an persecution. And as Christians, as believers, we should be shining brightly, not only in those mountaintop experiences when everything's great and our business is going well and our families are all healthy and everything looks good. We should be shining brightly also in those persecution moments. And so that's GiveSendGo, is shine brightly. And so we might be moving from the kite to something more that fits the shine brightly.
Okay, good. Make sure it's got the most techie edge you can, because, you know, even Facebook bored theirself with Facebook, and now they're in some kind of squiggly looking thing. And I guess at this point here, it looks kind of stupid. Mega, or is that MAGA? I don't know. MAGA. I don't know what it is, but anyway, that ain't happening. That logo, that's a bomb. Okay, so make sure, I mean, your logo, man. I mean, it's got to. Hope you employ the best graphic artist you can, because it's got a hit.
We did. I'm so excited.
Okay, now here's what I want from it. It's got a pop. When people see it, it's got a pop.
Okay, I'll let them know.
It has to differentiate itself from anything. It can't be a clone or a tweak or a Photoshop of anything. Yep. Okay.
Nope. You'll be doing it custom.
It's got to grab you. You've got seconds or milliseconds when somebody looks at it. So it's got to be instantly recognizable of the meaning of it. If they've got to sit, what is that? I mean, they may forget to hit the donate button or what they were there for. They're confused. You don't want to confuse them. So make sure. So it's got a pop, instant recognition. Can't be a clone. Got to be as up to date, spacey, techie, advanced. Look in the future. What's the tech up there? Grab something from the future. Send somebody up to the future. Whatever. Bring it back. It's got to be state of the art. Okay.
And that is why we're updating it. It's been long enough. We've been looking at this logo going, it's so dated. We need to do something. We found somebody that his logos are phenomenal. Like each one is so cool how it like tells you what that company does in the logo, like just by looking at it. Right. And so, we met him through a friend. And so we actually have started the process. He's going to, we have a meeting next week and I'll run it by you. I
think you should. I think you should get my valuable input. Been doing this for years. I was in the business for a long time. I'm well established on how to market things. And it always amazed me. People will send me something, maybe like a meme, and I'm looking at it and I say, I'm already gone. If it doesn't, if it's that way, they were thinking of something, but they put it in a meme where you have to think about it. There's no punch to it. The simplest ones, like the cat meme was a really good one. It's overused now, but in the beginning, it was a cat and a woman, and you could put them in a couple places. And it was hysterical. Now, of course, it's all burned out, but it was instantly. You didn't have to think about it. That cat's not supposed to be doing that. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to think about it. No. So that millisecond of things. All right, here's a couple great questions as we get toward the end of the broadcast there for you, Heather. Max Vogan says, Heather, who checks these people out that start a fund so we know our money is going to be used for that purpose?
That's a good question. That is a really good question and something that we have talked about a lot over the years. So how it works is that when somebody comes on and starts a campaign, they then list the recipient. So if it's themselves, then it'll say that the recipient is, so if I go on and I say, Heather Wilson created, okay, so you can see Candace Owens raised money for Lieutenant William Kelly, and it says she's the recipient. So we went on and we made sure that Candace Owens, because it says she's getting the money, that she actually was the person, that somebody didn't just say they were Candace Owens. We went in and verified her information to make sure her bank account, it was all of her stuff. She was the one getting the money. But on this one, it was weird because we're like, well, why is Candace Owens getting the money and not William Kelly? And so we have a whole team of people that contact and make sure, how do you know? So this is a little bit different because Candace Owens is a famous person. But let's say, and we know William Kelly as well. We just know who he is and we've talked to him. So that was an easy one for us to say, hey, William Kelly, are you okay with Candace Owens raising funds for you? And that was an easy checkout so that people could know who the money was going to. Now, if I were to go and say, Heather Wilson is raising funds to go on a mission trip and the funds will be received by Heather Wilson, you will know that if it says the recipient is Heather Wilson, that the fund, you can be guaranteed the funds will be going to Heather Wilson. We check that out. We make sure that I can't say the funds will go to Heather Wilson and have them go to John Doe. It doesn't work that way. It has to be that person. Now, if I raise money for my friend Karen needs to fill out the bank forms, and then we make sure that it's her information and we verify it. So we always say, read who it says the recipient is and only give if you trust that person. Because we can't guarantee. So if I'm raising money for a missions trip, I tell my grandma to give me money for my missions trip, and she sends me $200, and then I don't go on my missions trip. Guess what? Grandma's going to say, "Where's my $200 I gave you?" Right. And so it pretty much does it checks out itself because people give to people they know 99% of the time. People give to who they know, but you can always on GiveSendGo we verify every recipient is the person who's raising the funds.
Very, very good. Very good. All right. And now here's a question from Bear. Remember I said earlier that we have a call from Bear. He gives us good news every week, the good headlines of people doing good in their community. He says, Heather, can people donate things other than money?
At this time, not through GiveSendGo. We do have people that say, can I get the information for the campaign owner? I see they're raising funds for a pregnancy center, and I have a ton of diapers that I would like to donate. And so we can say, yes, we will forward your email on to that person, and if they want to contact you about your diapers. So right now we do not have the feature where you can donate a supply, anything really more than money or prayers. You can send a prayer as well.
Yeah. I think that's a great question too, because to connect people with goods they may have that could bless somebody, that's always a good thing. But obviously you're targeting and quite successful in the area that you are called to. I think we talked about in the first hour how that there seems to be that we're kind of moved to the position of the Army that we're supposed to be in, and everyone has a place on that field, and that might be why you're in that genre. Now, that doesn't mean somebody can't develop something. If you guys don't do it, then maybe somebody else will. Maybe it could be a segmented part of your business that could eventually get into that point there. All right, so and then we have this question. It says, Heather from our live chat, are people able to donate their time? That's a similar question.
It's that same sort of thing. If you see a campaign on GiveSendGo that says, we had a young girl who was saying, I'm getting out in my community and I'm going to be cleaning from this block to this block. And if you can join me, and I'm raising money for shovels and for trash bags and for X, Y, and Z. And if you want to, here's how you can join me. And she put her information so people could contact her and say, hey, I want to come out and help you. And so that's really up to the campaign owner. We do not have a specific feature that says, join me for this event, things like that. But different campaign owners can say, we're doing this, and if you want to join me, come and, here's how to contact me.
And that's, the Bible says laughter doeth good like medicine, but so does giving. That does the same thing. It does good like medicine. So I think if somebody in our live chat or watching the program, if you're feeling that you have nothing, that you need something, I think that's a good thing to do. If you feel like you need something, the best thing to do is to find something to give and watch that come back. I mean, it's inevitable. I think you mentioned that in the first hour too, sort of how it comes back in waves. Remember there's an old song from the Imperials back in the 80s or 90s. I think it said, cast your bread on the water and it'll come back in every wave, and there's no specification on what that amount that you cast out on the water is. But we all got to get about the business of casting something out there. And so, by the way, is somebody's contribution or donation to a cause tax deductible?
Only if that cause is done by a nonprofit or 501c3, somebody with a tax status that could be considered a nonprofit. And so the money's not coming to GiveSendGo. So it really is going directly to the person or the organization that's fundraising. So if the organization that's fundraising is a nonprofit organization and you give to it, your receipt could be used for tax purposes. If it's just to an individual, then it won't be able to.
Have you talked to Kyle Rittenhouse personally?
We've talked to his family. I don't believe we've talked to him on the phone, but his family, his mother, and his lawyer groups, and they pretty much said the Pray Now feature, where you see that thousands of people have clicked the Pray Now button. That Pray Now feature kept him going, to be able to read these messages of people encouraging him, sending him prayers, things like that, just allowed him to get, because when you click Pray Now on his campaign page, what it does is open up a box and you can type a message. And so, and so he gets all of those and is able to, if you hit Pray Now right there, you can send a message and say, listen, I'm praying for you, or we're behind you, whatever you'd like. And I know that it helped during this last year and a half, that Pray Now button, even more than the money, he said. Obviously the money was very needed, but that Pray Now just helped him know he wasn't alone.
Was this campaign the largest for GiveSendGo?
No, we had one for, I believe, for voter fraud during the election time, where someone was going to be setting up to do a call center to call, just check out the voter from each state that were, every state that was close. And so they raised probably a little bit more than Kyle. We've had since a few others that hit around the same amount, the $500,000. You know, typical campaigns are a few thousand. You know, I'm raising funds for a mission trip, or something like that. And then we have the ones that hit the 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, depending on what it's for.
So, have you personally been amazed at some of the giving you've seen?
It's actually, I've been so amazed at the giving that we've seen. And it's actually part of the reason why I say, you know what, I knew there was two sides to this Kyle story, even before I knew any of the facts, simply because the amount of people that wanted to give. You know, people don't want to give to the pedophile. You know, people don't want to give to, you know, things like that. You know, they just don't want to give to the bad guy. Sorry. No, but you know, it's true though. Like, people will give to, they want to give to somebody they think might be innocent. They're not going to give to somebody they can tell is guilty, you know? And so there was enough people that were giving to Kyle that we said, wow, there's a whole other side to this story that need to come out, because look at all these people wanting to give him a chance to at least have a voice. Now, back when, I don't remember what election, it wasn't this past election, it might have been the election before. I remember looking at I think it's Hillary versus Trump. And I remember when it first was going on, and I was just like, oh God, like, it really is just the best people in our country, like the best two people we could find for our country, right? Like, I'm just going, all right, are you still in control, God? Like, are you still on the throne? Like, is this where we're headed with our country? And I was just really wrestling with it. I was wrestling hard with it. And I remember going on GiveSendGo, and I started scrolling one day, and I started just seeing all these campaigns, and we have like a little map on the homepage, and it's since just an image, but for a while, and we're working on getting it back to be like where the flames actually are flickering, where there are campaigns all around the world. And you could see all these campaigns where people were stepping out and doing what God called them to do. And I was like, God just really reminded me that what I was seeing in the political wasn't the big story. The big story were each one of us, like, and we've talked about this already, this conversation, each one of us stepping out into our little sphere of influence and making a difference there. And that's how we're going to change the world. And so I started to scroll through and see the givers, and I saw the people going, and I saw the people having, you know, adopting, and I saw the people sharing hope with their neighbors. And I was like, wow, God's still alive and well, and he's working through people like you and me. Wow.
Very nice, very nice. I'm glad you said that. Let me ask you just a little bit more on Kyle Rittenhouse. He, in the interview, he said he actually supported BLM. So using this, what we're talking about tonight, GiveSendGo, if he decided, and the BLM, they weren't happy about it. I mean, you know, I wish we could all get together, you know, when somebody's reaching out, but anyway, suppose he wants to prove it and said, well, I'm going to start a GoFundMe for BLM. What would happen? Is there a function where they say, I want this to stop? Have where somebody starts something for somebody and they don't even want it, maybe not even BLM, I'm just using that for an example, worst case, I guess. But have people started campaigns and the recipient said, stop it, I don't want this going on?
So what happens is, let's just use your example. So Kyle says, you know what, I want to raise money. I have some notoriety right now. I want to use that, and I want to raise some money to prove that I'm not racist, and I'm going to raise money for BLM. And he comes on GiveSendGo, and he starts a campaign, and he says, I'm going to raise it for the BLM chapter in this, this city or whatever. And when funds start to come in, we will see whether that BLM chapter actually connected their processing account. If they didn't, the campaign won't be started, right? So somebody will have had to connect to our processor. If it was Kyle, we would write to Kyle and say, before he was able to continue withdrawing that money, and we'd say, do you have permission to raise funds for them? Please have them write us and let us know that they are okay with you raising funds for them. And we do that for everybody because we don't want somebody raising funds for somebody who goes, no, I didn't want anybody to know about even small things. I didn't want people to know about my sister's cancer. Like, that was nice that you wanted to do that, but I didn't want that to be out there, you know. And so we're cautious about making sure the person who the funds are being raised for approves of it.
Heather, when did GiveSendGo start?
So 2014 was the idea to, or 2014 was the
conception,
building phase.
Okay.
Mid 2015 we did a soft launch, and then really 2016 was our first full year of this is who we are and what we're doing.
So if you could make a graph of activity, I guess, or trending campaigns, or even dollar amount, is it vertical, or is it a little bit, or is it, how would you rate it?
It's pretty vertical, with this last year and a half being explosive is what I would say. But before that, we were, you know, year after year, doubling what we were doing the year prior. So we were on a continual, what would look like a great growth pattern for a startup. And we're actually really thankful, even though we wanted to explode. Obviously, you think you have a great idea, you're going to launch a website, like you said, and everybody's going to come, and it's just going to be the best thing in the world. And you start, and you're like, man, this is a lot of work to get people to come here and use us and build, you know, our name and our brand. And so but year over year and month over month, we were seeing more people find out about us and use us. And we did a lot of guerrilla marketing because we bootstrapped this thing. And we year over year, just watching ourselves grow. And I think God had us on that path so we could learn a lot of the lessons that needed to be learned that we would not have been ready for last August when Kyle came on, and all of a sudden we were in mainstream news and lots of hate and people attacking us and trying to take us down and web server attacks and all sorts of things like that.
Have you been contacted by mainstream media?
We, you know, all the time wanting interviews. We've done a couple, and then we decided we wouldn't do it again. We were on with some girl, and from the very beginning of the interview, I could tell that she just wanted to continue painting us. I tell some jokes, like I like to be me and Jacob were both on the phone, and she was getting set up. She was trying to record it. And so she would ask some questions, and I was just trying to engage her, like on a personal level, just to make her laugh, or, stupid things, but just to try to let her see that I was a real person. So, I was like, oh yeah, I'm the older, wiser sister. You can quote me on that, like little things like that just make someone chuckle, like nothing major, but she had no reaction at all. And so I actually stopped the interview and I said, well, you know what? I've been trying for the last 5 or 6 minutes to connect with you so that you could see that I was a person, because I know you're coming into this wanting to paint me a certain way. And so I'm trying to connect with you, and I can see you don't even want to do that. So I'm not really interested in interviewing with you, because I'm not, if you already have your mind set up, then you're just going to write whatever you want to write. And she's like, oh no, I'm sorry, my computer wasn't working, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to figure it out. And I said, okay, well then I'm going to give you a little grace here, because I know when computers don't work, technology can be fickle. So I will believe you on that. Well, we talked to her for over an hour. Then she wrote some more emails afterwards, follow-up questions. And then she put out this horrible, horrible, horrible news article about us, with quotes. She never got her audio to record, and so her transcripts were just little notes that she jotted down of what she thought we said, which really meant what she heard, which isn't always what someone says, but you hear isn't always what the person says, especially when you're hearing from your own side of view. And she wrote some doozies in that, and we read that and we said, okay, we're not going to do this. We're not going to just get on every site, every interview. We get asked for a lot of interviews. We do some, but we try to be more wise about it. If someone's out looking to paint us in a certain way, you know,
Right.
no matter how much I tell them I love
I guess, right. I guess it'd be like Donald Trump Jr. going on The View. What the heck are you thinking? There's no way you're going to come out of there without 5 crazy people screaming at you for an hour and twisting your words and probably dragging you off the set. Don't, you know, I mean, you got to, you know, you want to reach across sometimes, but you really got to be, you got to pray about it. You got to have a real good sense of what you're heading into. Heather, we're about ready at the end of the interview. Let me ask you something though. How many were in the original core development team of GiveSendGo? You and your brother and any others? 2 or 3? 1, 2?
Me, my brother, and my sister. I had another sister as well. The 3 of us founded GiveSendGo. And then we hired a team of people to build our website. I was working at a marketing firm at the time, and we hired the company that I worked for to build the site. It took over a year, and there's a lot of bumps in the roads, and it ended up not being, you know, it was stressful, a lot of lessons learned. And then we got the uncompleted site from them, and we tried to find some development people that could help us get the site live. And so really it was Jacob, me, and my sister Emily at the beginning, and then a developer or 2, usually overseas, that were helping us because that's all we could afford. We were, like I said, we were bootstrapping this. Every penny that came in went right back out. And so it was just, you know, up until recently, or, you know, recently, a couple of years, I was wearing all the hats. Jacob was wearing all the hats. We were doing the customer service. We were doing all of the stuff. You know, it's what you do as a founder. You do it all. And now we're able to hire people to do some of it, which is the good part. Very,
very nice. I remember back in the day, I had to have some content in Flash. I needed Flash. It was just coming online, and I didn't have the software for it, so I found some Flash people in India, man. They were great. So
yeah, no,
I made a lot of money. I made some money from that. All right, well, Heather Wilson, I'll give you the final word about GiveSendGo. Anything you'd like to say? Talk about your website, your giving, your trends, anything?
Sure. So I just encourage anybody listening to go to GiveSendGo.com right now. Just type it in, look at it in a separate browser window, and start scrolling through. See what people are raising funds for. There's all sorts of categories. It's easy to start. Keep us in mind if you need to raise funds. Now on Giving Tuesday, which is this Tuesday, GiveSendGo is covering all the processing fees. So if you start a campaign on Giving Tuesday on GiveSendGo.com, on Wednesday, we will calculate how much of our processor charged you in their 2.9% fees, and we will give it all back to you. And so that is what we're doing on Giving Tuesday. So if you need to raise funds for something, go to GiveSendGo.com, start a campaign, and ask all your friends and family to give on the 30th.
The 30th of this month.
Yep, the Giving Tuesday is this coming Tuesday. So they say there's Black Friday, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, and then Giving Tuesday. And people all over the world do these, like, trying to give, you know, find things to give to. Nice. And so we say start a campaign, find something to give to, and come to GiveSendGo. If you don't have a campaign, if you don't need to start a campaign, we still ask you to get involved on Giving Tuesday. Come to GiveSendGo. Look around the site and give to a campaign. And if you want, join our army, and we'll be happy to send you out some of the cool GiveSendGo stuff that we have. And then you just can be a giver every month. And I'm telling you, the successful campaigns that we have on GiveSendGo, when people say, how do I have a successful campaign? The tip that we have is we say, be a giver in your life. Because and you've kind of hit on this too, if you are a giver in your life, when it comes time that you have a need, people will flood in to give to you. And so when someone's a taker their whole life and then they start a campaign wanting to take some more, people go, oh, they always need something. They always are in this desperate situation. They're always taking. There's always a problem. But if you're the giver, when it's time for you and you say, man, my wife just got diagnosed with some medical bills, guess what's going to happen? All those people that you've influenced and you've given to and you've, you know, poured your life into, guess what's going to happen? They'll come back and give to you. So be a giver, not just on Giving Tuesday, all the year. Join our giver army. But look around your community, find a way to volunteer, step out and do something, because only you can do what God's called you to do.
Wow. Well said. And just as a final note, as we let you go, our poll question percentage has changed. If you need crowdsourced, the number one, 66% said they're going to use GiveSendGo, and GoFundMe decreased down to 33%, and the others got nothing. So, Heather, you made a difference here, even on the broadcast.
That's awesome, and that's what we say. We're like, hey, we're going to be the replacement. We're not just the alternative, we're the replacement.
Right on. All right. Heather Wilson, can we have you back on again sometime?
I would love to. Just let me know.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye.